Well, good morning, everyone. Finally got everything hooked up, finally got everything working. It's good to be back with you. Happy Wednesday morning and welcome back to Morning Musings. I'm finally starting to feel human again after our Preterist Pilgrim weekend. Boy, I tell you, it's such a fantastic time of fellowship, a fantastic time of study. I cannot appreciate or express my appreciation enough for the great speakers that we had for this year's conference. As usual, our speakers just did a bang-up job, and we appreciate that so very much. Don't forget, if you want to watch the entire 2016 Preterist Pilgrim Weekend, including my debate with Dr. David Hester, it's posted right there on the front page of eschatology.org or bibleprophecy.com. Just click on what you want to watch. Pardon me. Now, if you want a longer report and analysis of the debate, William Bell and I on Two Guys in a Bible discussed the debate last night. And so you just go to www.fulfilledradio.com and it'll be right there in the archives, and you can get about a 1 hour analysis of my debate. But for just a brief analysis here, I have to tell you, I don't know how the debate could have gone much better, except it would have gone much better if David Hester would have actually paid attention and answered, at least attempted to answer, the arguments and the points that I made. Now, make no mistake, during the debate, he said over and over and over again that he had answered every one of my arguments. Well, it's simply wrong. It's simply false. For instance, my first affirmative dealt with Romans chapter 11, where Paul said, blindness in part has happened unto Israel until all Israel is saved. As it is written, the Redeemer shall come out of Zion and take away the sin of Israel, for this is my covenant with them when I take away their sin. Now that's a direct citation of Isaiah 27, Isaiah 59, and a direct echo of Daniel chapter 9. Now, what I did is to show from the text of Isaiah that this coming of the Lord for the salvation of Israel would be at the time, number one, at which God avenged the blood of the martyrs, Isaiah 26:21. Number two, it would be at the time in which the city of Jerusalem would be left desolate. Number three, it would be when the temple and the altar would be turned to chalkstone. And number four, it would be when God would no longer remember the people whom he had created, which is a direct echo, a direct citation of Deuteronomy 32:28. Well, I made the point over and over and over again that Deuteronomy 32:28 is a prediction of Israel's last days. Has nothing to do with the end of time, has nothing to do with the church divorced from Israel. It is all about Israel and her last days. Thus, the chain of connection is Deuteronomy 32, Isaiah 27, Romans 11. I challenged David Hester to answer that argument, that Romans 11 would be in fulfillment of Isaiah 27, which will be in fulfillment of the Song of Moses, which is all about Israel, not about the church, not about the Christian age. I challenged him to answer the point that Isaiah 27 would be at the avenging of the blood of the martyrs, at the destruction of the city, at the destruction of the temple, when God would destroy Jerusalem, the people. How did David Hester, quote, answer that argument? Well, he didn't even mention it. Literally. Go to my website. Check it out for yourself. Watch and listen to see if David Hester so much as mentioned that argument. I pointed out And by the way, this is just in my first affirmative, folks. Okay? As noted, Paul quotes from Isaiah 59. Isaiah 59 predicted that Israel would be guilty of shedding innocent blood. 3 times in Isaiah 59, verses 3 through 10, God accused Israel of being guilty of shedding innocent blood. When he saw it, he put on the garments of vengeance, and he said he would come in judgment of Israel for shedding that innocent blood. But that would also be the time of the salvation of the remnant, which, by the way, is what Romans 11 is about. And that would be in fulfillment of his covenant promise to them. Now, what I pointed out repeatedly, David-Hester believes God was through with Israel at the cross. God supposedly nailed Torah to the cross. I challenged David over and over and over again to explain how Paul could be anticipating the salvation of Israel, Old Covenant Israel, at the time of the vindication of the martyrs, which was not at the cross, the time of the vindication of the martyrs in fulfillment of his Old Covenant promises to Old Covenant Israel, if God was through with Israel at the cross. Now, folks, since Romans 11 is all about the fulfillment of God's Old Covenant promise made to Old Covenant Israel at the coming of the Lord at the time of the vindication of the blood of the martyrs, number one, it didn't happen at the cross, so God wasn't through with Israel at the cross. God, therefore, would not be through with Old Covenant Israel until the coming of the Lord in vindication of the martyrs. Again, I challenged David-Hester to answer this. And while he said over and over, I have answered every one of Preston's arguments, he never so much as mentioned this argument. Didn't mention it. You see, it was just a smoke cloud. It was a lot of fog and dust thrown up to prevent the audience, hopefully to prevent the audience from realizing how absolutely 100% he had not answered my arguments. And you know what? I could go on and on illustrating how David did not answer my arguments. He did not answer my arguments on Daniel 12. He did not answer my arguments on 1 Corinthians 15. He did not answer my arguments on the Sabbath days. Didn't touch them, didn't even mention them. And on it goes. I try to be as honest and objective as I can possibly be in my analysis. But for David-Hester to get up and to say that he had answered every one of my arguments is specious, false, and misleading. I'm sorry, it's just simply not true. And I challenge anyone to find where he answered my argument on the law of Moses being the law that was the strength of sin, which he admitted, but which demands that the resurrection would be at the time of the taking away of the law of Moses. He promised that he was going to give a definitive answer to that, and he never even mentioned it. Never responded. So, what I ask you to do is to be honest, objective, impartial, and truthful in your analysis of this debate. If you think that David-Hester answered just these arguments that I've mentioned and a whole lot more arguments that I made that he never touched, that he never breathed on, if you think he did, do me a favor, send me an email with his answer to those arguments, okay? Send me his answer to Isaiah 27. Give me his answer to Isaiah 59. Give me his definitive and substantive answer to Daniel 9. Now, he tried to argue on Daniel 9. I will give him credit for that. But he did not touch my argument. He was desperate to avoid it, but he did not answer it. So again, I'm asking you, analyze the debate impartially, honestly, objectively, and send me his analysis, his direct response, just to the arguments I've mentioned here, you're going to find he did not answer them at all. Now, I have asked David Hester to provide a venue and a time for a follow-up debate in Montgomery, Alabama. He has pledged and promised to negotiate in good faith for a follow-up debate. We will see if there will be another debate. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's morning musing and this ever so brief analysis. Again, don't forget, you can listen to a 1-hour analysis from William Bell and myself on www.fulfilledradio.com and the show Two Guys and a Bible. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll see you on the flip side.